Hi, friends. He was sitting here so nice and calm, and I thought, oh, how perfect. You know, I'll read the journal, and Cuddles will just sit here, and you can enjoy him as well. Maybe he will yet. Okay. I'm in kind of a pensive space, endless changing, and it's not letting up. Um, it just continues and accelerates even. So where it's going, I don't know. But this journal is from a few days ago. It's from the 16th, Monday. The Mayan day was Tu Ahau, or sun, Lord or light. It's called language, curses and spells, cursive and spelling, more of taking our power back and going free. So I've written so many since then, I forgot what's here. So let's find out together. I don't know why I'm here journaling right now. I had all the lights turned off, the critters fed and tucked in, the computer lights dimmed for the night, my nighttime videos all queued up, getting ready to pull up the covers. Then here I am. Something wants to be said, I guess, and I'm game for that. We're so blessed in retirement not to have to punch in with a clock in the morning, so 2 a.m. doesn't really mean anything. This has been a really intense time for me these last 2 or 3 days. I've got so many journals in various stages of completion that it'll be a neat trick to keep them all straight. I've even got one or two others slated to record for anonymous friends. So, sure, why not another one here? What the heck, right? My astrology has been pretty exciting lately. I want to step out here and tell you there's a website called stariq.com, stariq.com, where it's a free site, and you can sign up for membership. You just get a login name and a password, and they will send you your transits. Not the moon's transits, but they'll send you your transits a few days before they're due to hit, and that's fun. And I enjoy it. They also have a service where they'll send you the astrology for the day. Those guys, I tell you what, they're really dedicated and devoted to sit there and give you the readout. If you're talking daily, you're mostly talking the activity of the moon. It's the most active. The outer planets, they don't move around very fast. So anyway, stariq.com is fun. So my astrology has been pretty exciting lately. Mercury's transit is hitting, or it's conjuncting, my natal sun. And that's certainly not all. Pluto by transit is also conjunct my sun, as in right on top of it. So I guess we have to expect things to be and stay exceptionally deep for me for some years ahead, since its movement is so very slow, and the sun, more than anything in your chart, represents you. Hey, I'm game. We all came in here knowing what our astrology would be like ahead of time. We even chose it like that before birth. Well, with the help of our advisors, of course. Not too many of us are astrologers. Tell you what, though, I absolutely know I have lifetimes devoted both to astronomy and astrology. How does that come up? The way I found out about the astronomy part was, in all innocence, sitting down to watch a Nova series on the stars some years ago. I found myself responding to this multi-part series with such deep emotion that it shocked me. I mean, we're talking about the stars in the sky, and I was just sobbing over some of this stuff. I was so deeply moved by it, and we really have to question who the I is at a point like that, right? And this is back in the 80s, so I didn't understand why the new discovery of this or that celestial object should be so deeply moving. Words won't convey how this felt. Suddenly, I sensed myself in some other embodiment where astronomy had been my true love. I had literally, in that lifetime, poured myself into that, following my bliss. That embodiment, I like that. It's better than embodiment because it's God that you are that's incarnating. So that embodiment that I was then seemed to be right there with me in the living room watching PBS because I felt his feelings on learning of the new star or planet's discovery. It was something he had only intuited, though he'd searched long and hard for it. Now, here it was being confirmed. I shared his feelings, and boy, they were deep. Now, I must say, this whole thing took me quite by surprise. I had no previous hint or indication that this interest lay hidden. Now, should something similar happen today, I'd have to step back a bit from it. I've gone so empathic, what with awakening going on, that it just doesn't take much to move me. Back then, this wasn't the case, though. My feelings were quite commonly hidden, very Cancer moon like. Well, things change, have you noticed? And it's nice to be flowing with that. As for the astrology part, well, that's different from astronomy, quite. I suppose it was other lifetimes, but I really don't know. Years ago, I wound up following a growing interest in astrology to the extent of purchasing a very serious set of software by Matrix to run charts and reports. I used to play with it a lot, doing reports and readings for friends. Not that I knew much, mind you, but still, it was fun. I put some study into it. How I discovered that I must have had a history with that was through a set of different experiences. There would be times when I'd look at someone's chart and just know things, or just break out into tears in one case. Not often, thank goodness. When this happened, it wasn't even possible to do a reading for that one. The indications were too full of pain and challenge. I couldn't bring myself to pursue it, so I didn't. Then, at other times, and I never knew when, I'd suddenly find myself seeing so deeply into someone's chart. A truly intuitive reading would simply flow for me. I knew not where it arose. During those moments, though, I truly knew astrology, what I was talking about. I've got to admit that they were fleeting and few, and it's been a good while. That's certainly something I'd like to have locked down and accessible here, but these things are not like that. Or they haven't been so far. Let's not limit them, huh? Or maybe it's that I am not like that. I don't have any desire to pursue most things. In general, I'm interested in and appreciate everything. When it comes to going deeply into something, though, studying it, I tend to hold back. I can even tell you when and where that came to me. I was in a library where I was doing some research into some new interests I'd found. One was palmistry, and the other was astrology. I was so new to them that I didn't have any books of my own. And here's Starlight, only lately when I talk to her and I go to call her, Moon is what comes out first. So she might convert over into Moonlight. We'll see. Anyway, I was in the library. I had put a little study into astrology, but not too much at this point. I'd gotten my chart done, and I was in the library pursuing a deeper understanding of what it presented. So there I was, seeking out serious, legitimate astrologers via their writings, not this newspaper stuff. I came across one who, in laying out his understanding of the field, said something like this: you could take one person, one chart, and literally spend your lifetime studying it and never be done. There was such breadth and depth to the field and to the information and how it's interpreted that it wasn't possible to ever completely master it. I remember how deeply this struck me back then. With that big, thick book in my hands, I looked up and paused and considered, do I really want to give my life to this? If I wanted to do something, I wanted to do it right, so to speak, to really get into it. In that moment, perhaps it came to me that I'd been there and done that with this subject enough times before. I don't know. I just knew right then that for this now here lifetime, it didn't compute. That wasn't my choice. Somehow I just knew. So there are two really different ways of running into some of your previous incarnations or embodiments, as I'm calling them. Much better than embodiments, since you're God in your form, so it's God you're incarnating here. That's how I see it anyway. Hey, why not, right? You see it your way, I'll see it mine. I also don't like the word understanding, since I've discovered how it is used in the court system. There, to understand is to stand under, i.e., to be subject to. So, no thanks. I much prefer the word innerstanding instead for an inner comprehension. Our language itself is a minefield strewn with well-placed bombs and traps set to keep us enslaved to the old programming. So maybe along with me, you'll do some of your own breaking out of it. I'll share a few things. Hey, sound is critically important. So is our word. Let's be impeccable in our use of the language. Play with it all you like. Just be alert for the traps that are set. One of these days, I'll get out the lists that I've made over the years on what I found hidden in words. It's quite a code, this language we speak. Now, any language is, I suppose, but I'm only familiar at this time with English. Remember, friends, if we go back far enough, we find a time when we didn't have a spoken language. Be in heart and feel that out and see if you can't feel into that. See if it doesn't click for you. We didn't need one. We were completely telepathic, if you will, for lack of a better word. So we passed much more than just words when we would communicate. We'd share our sense of things and our emotions about them and so much more. It was more of a melding of beings or minds, or it could be that if we chose. Then along come the ETs and the Tower of Babel, and that's all she wrote for that union we had with one another. It was the ETs themselves, it is written, who introduced the various languages. Obviously, the story has been stripped down and modified, as is all supposed history we're left with, written as always by the victors. There's very little truth in any of the written record that is widely available here on earth. All the juicy parts, the ones that share truth, are locked away for the most part, mostly in the Vatican Library, but in private collections here and there too. So I don't trust a thing that I read. I'm having such fun with life now, and I hope you are too. We're finally gaining our wings again, if you will, our freedom from all that oppresses. It's been such a long grind. The way things have worked, The powers that were have managed to keep our noses to the grindstone of daily life and keep our focus strictly negative. That goes to build up anxiety, but of course, it's been pretty miserable. Yet now we're so empowered just by knowing of the power, even just our attention has. There's a sacred life energy that flows on the gaze of our focus. I call it the ray of attention. It's actually somewhat like that. It's a ray of energy, certainly. It's what you can feel when someone is staring at you. We don't yet realize the power it contains and transmits. What you're feeling, what you're thinking, and all of that flow over that ray. Thus, if you're thinking about me when, let's say, you're upset over the promotion you didn't get this week, you pass that energy on to me. If I'm sensitive, I'll even be able to tell what you're thinking in that case. Why is that? Well, it's much easier to do if there's emotion, if there's emotional energy attached to it. That's the way we usually discover our telepathic ability. It's because someone was feeling something really intensely and we picked that up. And then out of their mouth came the words that we just heard. We're all telepathic. It's built into the biology. The electromagnetism of our being just naturally transmits. It also receives. Often you'll find you're better at one than the other, sending versus receiving. Nevertheless, we all do both, largely unconsciously. We make decisions based on things we've intuited this way without even realizing that's what we're doing. It's just another way to learn things telepathically. Of course, that doesn't mean that what we learn that way is any more right or true than what we read in a book. I say don't trust anything, but that doesn't mean to shut down and not pick things up. In a funny way, it's possible to be both open and closed at the same time. Be open to everything. Just don't rush in to believe what you pick up. A little skepticism is healthy for everyone. Then we wouldn't have people so easily taken in, so gullible. Well, I don't see that anything earth-shattering was learned here so far. Hey, wait a minute. There's another term I'm going to can. Earth-shattering. What a terrible idea. Surely there's a better way to say something of magnitude than that. Another one that you might not be aware of the origin of is rule of thumb. That's a good one to lose as well. It stands for the old law about the size of the stick a man could use to beat his wife with legally. He was lawful just so it wasn't thicker than his thumb. How's that for a worthy one for the trash heap? I agree. I guess if we would all just take away a renewed zeal for watching the use of language around us, especially our use of it, this could be something really valuable. Words are literally used as spells and curses. Notice the words spelling and cursive. I kid you not, this is serious stuff. We don't know the many ways we participate in binding and limiting ourselves or those near to us through our language. Let's all watch and observe this. This also helps turn our focus more inward pointing. As long as we remain outward focused, like we've been programmed to do, these things will sail right over our heads. Those heads down with the nose to the grindstone and all that. Yep, keep 'em busy and anxious, ever unsure of themselves and their livelihood. That's the way to manage 'em and stay in control. Ha! So let's all be lovely, lively net busters from now until forever, my friends. You'll all laugh to see how easy it really is to fall right out of their traps. I just started to say, I can't tell you how much it's helped just being in heart, but let's look at that. Do you see how I was set to bind myself there by saying, I can't say or I can't tell you? I just voluntarily placed that limitation on myself. That's a spell or a curse. I don't know. Then, the powers that were, love to laugh at us. They think it's so funny how they've hidden such things right out in the open and how we're supposedly too stupid to see. Well, my friends, they are quite deluded. You do know that, right? Add their arrogance to it. It's terribly intense and impenetrable. They too, with their beliefs, are crafting their own reality. So, my suggestion is to leave them there, stewing in that arrogance, but meanwhile to wake up to what's what. What with the frequencies rising on the solar and cosmic rays penetrating us and our atmosphere, we've got lots of support for this waking up. We ourselves are a tremendous network of light. We are totally amazing in a million ways. We'll have a jolly good time finding out. So let's follow our bliss as we step out of all of the traps. They might have worked once before. Heck, they worked darn well and for thousands of years. But that was then. This is now. That was there. This is here. We can make this whole thing so very done for them just by being alert. And let's not make it into some sort of a war either. If we do that, they'll just win. How? By keeping us in duality, one set against the other. We've got to rise above that whole playing field they've laid out for us. Before, they managed to keep us on their field, but no more. I'm quite done with that. And I've marked the exits for you. They're the ones labeled heart. Oh, one more word, if you please. Let's replace the whole concept of the internet with something much better, the internet. That's the one where we're all really one and no one can come between. Internet. It means we're linked up on the inner being network. Hey, I'm for that. So let's start using it. When we call on it and use it, we make it our very own. Sure, we're rusty, but this is built into our biology, and we have sufficient support now to begin using it. So just know that it's already there. The internet itself is just a poor, pale imitation of what we already have. We lost the use of it by putting it up on the shelf and then being told it didn't exist. Well, come on, let's all take it down, brush it off, and start using it. I hear it's eternal. That means it won't wear out. It always works. Now, our deal is to gain some facility, some experience, some expertise in its use. See you again soon.